Can you imagine the people you sleep with can have spiritual ties to you for the rest of your life? So Baba came to us because she had a little tale she wanted to share. Baba and NK met each other. They were friends first. They started dating. Things were going well. They decided together that they were going to remain celibate until marriage. No shenanigans. They agreed. So they finally got married. Everything was going well. They were happy. And everything seemed to be working out fine. Until 3 years down the line, things fall apart. NK can't find a job. Baba is struggling to make ends meet. She's working. She's running businesses. She's not making enough money to support their family. The last thing they're hoping to get is a child. And that one too seems not to be working. Nobody knows why. They've been to fertility clinics, they went to see doctors, they did everything possible. They tried, and it wasn't working. Until one day, Baba realizes that she's pregnant. And in that moment, that is the silver lining to everything that's been going wrong for them. Until 1 week later, she loses the baby. That was the first but not the last time that happened. She went through 3 more miscarriages in their marriage. At that point, everything was over. They were upset, depressed, feeling miserable, and the marriage was completely failing. So Baba's mother reached out to her and said, look, baby girl, let's go to church. Let's speak to Christ. Let's have a conversation. Let's wash ourselves and see what church brings, what God has to tell us. So we go to church, and in that moment, Baba feels like, yes, this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. I can finally, hopefully get a solution to my problems. During church service, the pastor points to Baba and says, you, come to the front. I have a word for you. Of course, she's thinking, this is the moment of revelation. He's going to tell me that I'm pregnant by a miraculous baby. He looks at her and says, look, your husband is tied to a spirit because of a woman. You, your husband, and that woman must come and pray for deliverance. Baba said that cannot be true. They had promised themselves to each other. They were both celibate. There is no hidden woman attached to her husband. He's lying to her, and he's taking other people's money in this church of his to tell stories. Frustrated, Baba goes home, talks to NK and says, look, I went to church. It started out great. And then this pastor comes to me telling me lies that there's a woman in your past, that it's possible that she has a spirit and it's what is ruining our marriage. But we were both virgins before we entered this business. So it's all a lie. And I don't appreciate that he's telling me these stories. MK doesn't say anything. He consoles her, he holds her, and they carry on about their days. Now, 2 weeks later, NK comes back to her and says, look, there's something that's on my mind that I have to share. Before we got married, back in the day, me and the boys used to, hang out during Dirty December. We had these things that we called hoes before bros. That was our hoeing season. At that point, I never did anything. They were all picking up girls, taking them home, doing the thing, but I never joined until one day during that Dirty December season. We went out and I got plastered. So they head back to the crib, they've taken the prostitutes along. They said, we are going to have a good time. Before you realize, everybody's drinking, smoking a little something, taking a few pills. And one by one, the boys start going off into a room with a girl, one by one. And then K left with one last girl. He said, look, the drink got to me. I don't know what happened. One thing led to another, and I chop him. I didn't think it through. I forgot protection. I went all the way. It was my first time. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I woke up the next morning. I said, crap. But it was one time, some prostitute long time ago. It was dead and gone. But you see, what your pastor is saying might be right. So where do we go from there? Baba, of course, is heartbroken. She's confused. She's angry. She doesn't want to deal with this situation any longer. But time's going on, and she decides that, look, for me, my life to be fixed, I have to fix this problem. So she and NK sit down and say, look, how do we find this long time ago prostitute? So they go on a hunt, start talking to his friends from that time period, start looking for phone numbers, contact. He couldn't even remember the name. But eventually they figured it out. They found the woman. She was called Herty. Herty has now become a big madam in the prostitution industry. So she's not for free. So they met her eventually and they said, look, we would like to see you one-on-one. We have a pastor that wants the pleasure of your company. You have to convince her because she's not coming for free. She said, nah, she's boss madam now. She has small girls for that. They said, look, it's really you that he wants. He's head of your abilities. He really wants to, discover what you have to offer. So she agreed. So that Sunday, they all go to church. And by the time time church is almost getting to a close, she's getting ready to bounce, but they've convinced her to stay. And then the pastor looks up and goes, you people in the back, come. So NK, Baba, and Hetty, Madam Prostitute, all arrive to the front. And again, Hetty doesn't know what's happening. So then everybody begins to pray. The pastor begins to pray. NK begins to pray. Baba is praying. The congregation is praying. And suddenly the Hetty woman becomes to shake. She's shaking. And before you realize, a voice starts speaking, announcing that it has been in her body for 15 years and has created soul ties with all the men she slept with in her past. And that why has this pastor decided to disrupt their peace? At this point, everybody is praying, tongues is coming out, oil has been poured upon their head. She shakes for a good 30 minutes and then collapses. And at that moment, the pastor tells them that you are now set free. Go and sin no more. So NK and Baba return home, and before you realize, things start to pick up, things start to make sense. NK is no longer jobless, he gets a job, he starts going to school again. Baba's businesses are doing well, her work is going well. And to top it all off, they give birth to a beautiful baby girl. And don't forget, Hetty has been delivered. She goes on to now preach the gospel around town. So, if this happened to you, would you accept it? How would you feel if somebody told you all the people you slept with, you've created a soul tie with them? Better start praying. That's it for today. Catch us on another episode. For more of these stories, visit nanaesempa.com.